And welcome to the final race of the rFactor 2 Summer Showdown. We're here at the Nordschleife for a 60-minute race to end this little fun series that we've been doing over the last month or so. We started with the stock cars in Portland. We went to Indianapolis for a bit of oval racing, and now we're coming to the Green Hell, which is one of the to be honest, it probably is the hardest track in the whole entire world. There's so many corners, there's so many places to make mistakes. And in GT3 cars, these are pretty much the fastest cars you're ever going to drive in an official race around here as well. So it's going to be very entertaining over the next hour and a bit. So myself, Cameron Roger, taking you through this. And Ewan O'Leary is with me today. And Ewan, how are you feeling about the Nordschleife?
Well, not good if I was driving it, but now that I'm watching, it is going to be good. I do enjoy watching races around here. I just don't like driving it because, as you mentioned, there's so many places where things can go wrong, and in often cases things do go wrong around here because the barriers are very, very close by to collect you if they do. So it's an absolute nightmare for a driver, but normally those kind of situations are great for spectators because it makes things very unpredictable. Even if someone has a big lead going on to the final lap here today, nothing is said and done right until the very end, because every corner can catch you out really. There's just that higher probability of things going wrong around here, so it just always keeps you on your toes, always keeps you on your edge of your seat as well.
Yeah, it's almost like a street track in some sections with how close the barriers are as well, despite being an actual, obviously, racetrack. There isn't really any runoffs. I mean, you can see it in the B-roll in the background as well. The curbs are really, really high. They're really sharp. If you catch them at the wrong point, you will be going spinning as well. So you've got to get the car all set up. You've got to be comfortable with it. And it's certainly something that the drivers really enjoy because of the challenge. I know some people, like yourself, Ewan, would not enjoy it in some ways, but it's certainly a big challenge. And that is why coming to this track is always very fun indeed. And we've, both myself and Ewan, we've, commentated, driven in even 24-hour races around here, and it is certainly a huge challenge, but I'm sure the drivers are going to overcome it. But it's always one of those things with a 60-minute race where there isn't going to be any, or there shouldn't be any sort of pit stops as such. They should be able to make it pretty much easily on the full tank. But the tyres is the interesting point, because if you push too much at the beginning, then you will be destroying your tyres for that all-important final lap.
Absolutely, you don't want to do that, obviously, and you need something to fight with right towards the very end, because it could come down to the very final corners. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Nordschleife, you'll know there's that huge straight going towards the final few corners, and if things are still together in regards to there's a few guys within a second or so, then it could come down to the very final few corners, and you do want some tyres left at the very least for that. So let's hope that does happen, because it would be exciting to see these battles go on right down towards the very end like that, but let's see if it happens in reality or only we can imagine it. But you mentioned those curbs there. I can't remember who said it, but I heard a quote from somebody who's driven around the Nordschleife for a lot, explaining about those curbs and how you only really take 3 or 4 of them. When you think about how vast this circuit is, only using 3 or 4 seems absolutely absurd, but it's true. You really don't want to hit any of them at all, because normally on a normal circuit they help you along, of course. They kind of widen out the track a little bit. You can make things a little bit easier for yourself, but you actually make things a lot more difficult for yourself by going over them here at the Nordschleife. So it's one of those backwards circuits in a way, and it does take a bit of retraining of your brain to kind of realise when you go to the Nordschleife, I need to stay off the curbs, and when you go back again to a normal circuit, you need to realise to use them again, because it's such a strange place to go.
Yeah, you got to respect the track. I mean, as you say, there's only a handful of curbs that you use because they're just so aggressive. It's a proper old school track, and there's very actual little things that have changed in that regard over the course of the years that we've been coming back here. And because we're here in the GT3 cars, it's obviously all the power, all the downforce that you could need around this track. I mean, GT3 cars generally feel slow, if you think about it, compared to, let's say, some Formula cars or prototypes. But as soon as you put it on the Nordschleife, it feels fast. You're properly moving in one of these cars. And to get that sort of speed sensation just proves what this track is like. And it's always a spectacle when you see the cars absolutely flying around there. And we're going to see, or at least yesterday in the previous week in the qualifying sessions, we did see times under the 8 minutes, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that in the race, because you will have to take a little bit more, obviously, caution and care. But it's going to be quite interesting. And for today as well, because normally we do rolling starts, but because the track is so long, we're doing a standing start as well in GT3 cars, which obviously have traction control as well. So the drivers getting that balance at the beginning is going to be another variable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to be doing a 15-minute formation lap or whatever it's going to be. So just going for the normal standing start. I'm not entirely sure how well practiced these guys will be with getting these cars off the line, because, you know, in other forms of motorsport, like, for example, sprint racing, touring car racing, or Formula car racing of any kind, you always do a standing start pretty much, unless it's a safety car or something. But, you know, you're mostly doing standing starts for that. So you'll be very well practiced and you'll know what you're doing. You'll know how to get those cars off the line, but might not in a GT car, because often it's a rolling start with this kind of form of racing, but a standing start will hopefully just shake things up a little bit. Some people will have practiced it, hopefully. Some people may not have. And that might hurt them a little bit in the race, but we'll wait and see. It certainly adds that added variable into the mix, as well as turn one, which is really, really tight. The first few corners, very, very difficult to get through all of these cars all at once. So let's hope they all do get through nice and clean, but it is going to be very, very difficult for everybody to shuffle through without incident.
Yeah, it certainly is. And that first corner is so tight. We're using the variant that is basically the little chicane at the end of that finish straight. So it's going to be very tight indeed. Anyone going around the outside is going to get pinched right on the inside of turn number 2. So it's always quite a fun factor to have at the beginning of these laps. And for the laps, it's probably going to be pretty much just a full stint for these cars, so that's about 8 laps. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing some drivers actually maybe not necessarily run out of fuel, but getting very low on fuel by the time we get towards the end of the race as well. So all those things the drivers are going to have to balance. And to take you back to the previous 2 races of the Summer Showdown, we obviously had the stock cars and then the Indy cars, and Eunice Rivio was looking good in both of those. So I don't know, I'm not sure if he's here. I haven't quite seen the list, but if he is, then obviously he's going to be going for 3 in a row there, which is something as well. But I know that's because it is the GT3s and this sort of stuff. I know there's going to be a lot of the more experienced drivers in rFactor 2 here.
Yeah, the GT Pro, GT Challenge cars are most likely to fill up the grid here today. But to be honest, I was not expecting Eunice Ravio to win either the stock car race, or the Indy race. But he cleaned up both of them in the end. And I would have said going into this that Ravio will probably be the strongest at this kind of thing in the GT cars, possibly, at least in my experience from what I've seen him driving. I would expect him to do the best in the GT cars, but if he's, I haven't seen him either. If he's not here, then I guess that's fair enough. And he won't be going for free, but you know, there's no real championship to focus on, to compete for here at the Summer Showdown. It's just 3 individual events packaged up as one kind of series, I guess. It just remains to be seen who'll come out on top of this one. It is going to be a different winner. I imagine it will be a different person from, you know, I don't think the person who wins today will probably have finished in the top 10 in either of the races so far or anything like that. I think it's going to be a complete shake-up because of what you mentioned there. The GT Pro and Challenge guys will probably be filling up the grid in this one while they haven't been in previous ones. So that will just change the top 10 around just a little bit, which is okay. We like to get new drivers up there. Not that they're going to be new and unknown people, but you know, it's good to chop and change these things around. Yeah, hopefully that's what we're going to be seeing over the 60 minutes.
Yeah, and hopefully we get some more races like this as the summer progresses, and obviously into the autumn after that as well, because it's always good to get some sort of some different races like this. But I can just tell you that in the background the race has started. We're just getting the cameras for you. And it's actually Jene Simoncic who's leading the way from Nuno Pinto. And those two drivers, obviously, straight away are ones that you know immediately from the GT Pro Series. Very good indeed. Nuno also did very well in one of those McLaren Shadow events a couple of years ago as well. So, and obviously Jene winning multiple championships across rFactor championships as well. So straight away, obviously the top names going towards the front, as well as David Mocek and Risto Capit as well. So these names you would have heard across a board, especially on the GT3 side of things. So obviously when we get the cameras on that, then that'll be that'll be good to see. And obviously when they get onto the Nordschleife as well, that's really where the challenge is going to start, because that's where the more irregular corners come, because we're having the GP loop as well. So that's obviously the normal track that we use even on the in the GT Pro Series, going to the Nürburgring. That's a fairly standard track to go to. But then as soon as you get out onto the Nordschleife, obviously all the runoff goes. You just get all the walls and the trees next to you, and it's a completely different vibe.
It's very, very different indeed. It's almost two different completely. You wouldn't think they're in the same place, really. They're so different. So yeah, that's where the real intrigue does begin. But it does become a lot more difficult to overtake it at that point, unless the guy in front of you goes off the road and into the barriers. You're really not going to be able to get through in any way on the Nordschleife section. So those guys are probably just going to have to wait for the very end of the lap to go down the Dossinger and then into the final few corners. Then you'll be able to make your move. But other than that, it's going to be very, very challenging indeed in any car to get through. It's just so twisty. There are no real straight points at all throughout any of the course, and it just makes things very, very difficult indeed to manage. So we'll see who ends up winning, but it's not a surprise to see some of the guys we saw up front, like Jene Simoncic and Nuno Pinto, etc. As you say, Pinto was up there in the StockCar Challenge. I think came second to Ravio, I forgot his name for a minute, Ravio, who won the race in the end and won the second one as well, of course, but Pinto wasn't there. So he'll be up there looking for another good result here in this one, but I'd imagine it will stay fairly close together, at least for the very first lap. I think there's going to be a lot of drafting off each other going down that back straight for the first time. Maybe after that it'll get a little bit more stretched out, but I think the first time round it's going to be fairly close.
Yes, certainly is. And it is a pretty unique part of this track, really, that once you get sort of out of what I guess you would call is sector one of the Nordschleife, the first part of it has a lot of straights. Then once you go down the foxhole and then you come back up into Adenauer-Forst, once you get to that section, it's just all corners. I mean, obviously you have a bit of the back straight as well, but it's still got loads of kinks in it. And it's really just corner, 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 all the way back to the Dottinger Höhe. So that part of the track is, it's like, I don't know exactly, but something like 15 kilometers long or whatever, that part of the track, which is obviously massively long and you just can't really overtake. And then that is why you've got to be very careful where you're making your moves, because if you do it in that part of or you try and do it in that part of the track, it's probably just going to cause an accident. But obviously, because this is more of a sprint race format, you don't really have the time to wait to make the moves as well. So the drivers need to be careful with where they're doing that, because if you wait to the back straight every time, then obviously that's not too many opportunities that you're going to be able to get. So hopefully the drivers all keep it clean, and then by the time we get them on the screen, there'll be still pretty much all of the cars running.
Well, yeah, let's hope so. But you never know. It does get like that on lap one. It can get a little bit close between everybody. But the fact that we didn't really have a proper qualifying, just to explain, the pre-qualifying's happened all week towards the event, so then the order is already set for when we actually get into this race. So it's not like we have a 10-minute qualifying session where the grid gets set, and if you have a bad qualifying, then that's it. These guys have had a long time to qualify for this one, their position will have been known for a very, very long time. But we finally got pictures just at the end of the first lap, almost 8 minutes into the race right now. Simoncic, well, I can eat my words a little bit, can't I, really, because I said it would be all together coming down the back straight for the first time. It doesn't look like that has actually happened. Simoncic has got 1 seconds over Pinto already, then Mocek, Capit and Khan, the top five at the moment.
Yeah, so obviously the names that you'd expect at the front, and especially Jene Simoncic. Guess what car he's in? He's in the Audi. He absolutely loves that car. And here is Nuno Pinto in the older McLaren, interestingly, the 650, which is still obviously a very competitive car, but there's obviously the 720S available as well. But here, as we come towards the end of the first lap, it is Simčić leading away from Pinto, as you would expect. But these drivers just now need to get into the rhythm and try and find the way that they can catch Jani Simčić. First of all, he's very comfortable in that car, being he's known to absolutely love that car, but also he's very good in it around this track in particular. He seems to quite like it around here, so catching him is going to be too easy, but I'm sure Nuno Pinto is certainly a driver who can do that.
Yeah, I think that was the car that Simčić has won 24 Hours Nürburgring with the other week, wasn't it? I can't remember. But yeah, there we go. He does certainly like that car very much, and there's a good variety actually up towards the front as we go a little bit further back. Did see Nico Barkley in the pit lane, by the way, from 22nd, and we've already got a couple of drivers out as a penalty for Nico Barkley as well as he leaves the pit lane. But Michi Hoyer and Perosh also out of the race already, which is a shame to see for those guys, that their race has been pretty short-lived, as we've got a yellow flag somewhere in Sector 1, but it doesn't seem to have lingered for very long at all. I believe we're on board with Thomas Vac at the moment, and it's Bettini defending from Arvinda for 10th position. Big slide as well from Bettini, going through the right-hander there and down towards the very fast left-right chicane. It looks like Arvinda's going to be able to get that move. Maybe Thomas Vac can get involved in this as well.
Yeah, the slipstream is working out very well for him. He's going to be able to get past there. So Bettini, actually, they're still going to be side-by-side in chicane. Is he going to be able to save that just about from some contact? But Sanya's coming around the outside as well. So he's been able to, actually, no, you can't quite hold on, because then he's going to be on the outside once again for the first corner of the Nordschleife, which is so difficult, so tight, a lot tighter than it looks on the camera. And he's been able to hold on to that one. So, but still a couple of positions lost there for Bettini, just showing you that it is still possible to overtake around here. But it is a lot more difficult now once you get onto the Nordschleife. It's all about getting the rhythm, getting the flow through these corners, and trying to make as little mistakes as possible. Every single one of these apexes is completely different. They've all got their own little nuances, and you have to really get almost the muscle memory of the corners. But it certainly looks like we're getting a good fight here for this P12, despite it being a bit lower down.
Yeah, it does indeed. It doesn't matter that it's lower down, really. It's still going to be a good fight, you'd imagine, at this point. So yeah, we'll watch with interest as to how this is going to pan out. But this is the real difficult part of the racetrack now. There's going to be a lot of places where you can actually slipstream and whatever, but there's no real places to pass. Maybe you can go down the inside into the right-hander at the bottom of the hill here. It's quite a long braking zone. You need to get on the brakes pretty much as soon as you get the car straight here, and it doesn't quite look like Bettini did that on that occasion. But he holds on to the place at least. Sanez is right behind Ballet, not too far behind. Folletto is right here as well, all in behind as they go up towards Adnar Forest right now. But you can just see how narrow it is, how fast it is, and where the braking zones are. There are absolutely none of them, so it's so difficult for Sanez. Even though he got a fantastic run out of the right-hander there and down the hill, he just didn't have anywhere to go with it, and that McLaren can stay in front fairly easily, really.
It's a nice or difficult part of the track, I should say, to sort of do much in that regard. But you do need to keep the flow going. That's really the main bit. If you start making one corner awkward, then it makes the next one even harder, because it's literally just corner after corner after corner. You really have to make the first one count in the sequence. Otherwise, you just start losing all the apexes. And I've just been sort of advised how Michi Hoyer DNF. He actually crashed on the first lap as well. Bettini there is going a bit wide. That's a common mistake. They're actually making a bit of a slide as you go over that bump there into the hit corner, and he's trying to get himself going in the right direction, but unfortunately he's going to struggle there. And that was a very similar situation actually to what happened with Michi Hoyer, but he actually did that at a Schwedencross, where he lost the rear end there, and that's how Michi Hoyer got out of that race. But we still have a good 22 going in this race at the moment.
Seems that Michi Hoyer is actually going again, but a lap down. I don't know if that's how that's worked, but anyway, that's a shame to see for Bettini, who was defending quite a lot in the opening part of the race. It seems he's left everybody else to kind of battle it between themselves. Folletto and Rodders battling at the moment, and it looks like Rodriguez is going to get through on the Bentley as well, although it's drifting to the middle of the road. The Bentley versus the BMW, two very, very big cars, especially for this circuit, trying to squeeze their way through here, round the outside for Rodriguez. Oh, that's close, and the Bentley looks like it's been off. I think the Bentley is... Oh, he's kept it going in the straight line. No, he hasn't actually. Into the wall once again. And I'm afraid that's what happens when you get damage around the Nordschleife. There's not really anywhere you can go, and you're kind of stuck into the barriers. He's gone, I'm afraid. And yeah, that's going to be a long way back to the pit lane for him.
Yeah, he's got definitely got some suspension damage there. He won't be able to continue too far, unfortunately, as he gets to the mud curve. He's just riding along the wall, because that is going to be too much for him. He's probably going to be getting out of the race, which is a bit unfortunate. I would jump back to David Mocek now at the front of the field, third place at the moment. He's getting really close to Nuno Pinto, actually staying very close to him, which is always nice to see. He is also in the Audi 2018 version, obviously being a teammate of Simoncic at Burst Esport. And Mocek actually finished in the top 5 of the GT Challenge last week, so he has now got himself a place in the GT Pro for next season as well, alongside Simoncic just up the road as well. But he's now catching Nuno Pinto, using a bit of the grass there, trying to use every section of the track, and it's certainly looking like this is going to be shaping up for a really good battle.
Yeah, it does indeed, but Simoncic is just running away from Pinto completely at the moment, 1.9 seconds, as we're going to try and take a look at what happened to Folletto, because we didn't quite see. We were looking, he hit that curb on the inside. That's what we were mentioning. You don't want to hit the curbs around here. You can't hit the curbs around here, because that kind of thing will happen. It spits him into the barriers, and a lot of suspension damage for Alessio Folletto. And that's the end of his race. A real shame to see, but a prime example of why you don't touch the curbs.
Yeah, not what you want to be doing at all. They're just way too harsh. And unfortunately, that is going to result in a DNF for him. As we come now to Nico Barkley, who has, let's just say, struggled just a little bit. He didn't have the best luck in the GT3s recently. Firstly, in the GT Challenge Championship, he wasn't doing too great in there, but also in GT3 Endurance by SRC, he also wasn't doing too great. So maybe GT3s aren't his thing, as he's down there in 21st position, but let's see what he can do over the next 44 minutes, as we're now seeing, that's actually Mocek. He was able to get past Nuno Pinto, so that is really good for him. He's able to get himself there up into second place, as Pinto is now dropped down into third. So let's see if Mocek can do anything about Simoncic, because Simoncic is really starting to pull a gap at the front.
He is indeed, nearly 4 seconds between the teammates, and that is a very, very big margin indeed. For him to be gaining, and fastest lap of the race also set by Simoncic there. Not surprising to see that really from him.
Yeah, certainly a difficult situation to be in once that field does spread out just a little bit. But for Yanni Simoncic at the front there, he just did 8 minutes and 6, which is a really nice lap, I have to say. That is somewhere, I mean, you can go a little bit quicker than that, but obviously you have to just go, almost on a quali lap and really try to get yourself towards the front. So let's see how that one works out for him. But he is in a nice position at the moment, and let's see if David Mocek can catch him.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult though. Simoncic is very well known for being very, very fast around here, and Mocek is very well known for being very quick as well, but I wouldn't say to the same degree as Simoncic, especially not at a circuit like the Nordschleife, but that Simoncic has just mastered recently. So it's going to be tricky, but Mocek will definitely give it his best shot, and Pinto will probably do his best to stick with Mocek as well, the best he can. I mean, that McLaren didn't look too strong in a straight line there. The Audi looked to absolutely mince it on the Nottingham there. I'm not entirely sure if Pinto just got a bad run or what happened, but it was certainly very, very slow on the back straight and didn't really have a response, even though Mrozek passed him about halfway down the straight. He got back into the slipstream and nothing really happened, so I'm not entirely sure if that McLaren's just a little bit down on straight line speed or what was happening.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we weren't able to see if, yeah, as I say, if there was any sort of issue there, but certainly there was a he had still quite a big gap already, so the overtake must have happened quite early on in the in the straight. So maybe Pinto made a mistake, which is always possible to do, but it looks like he's holding, or has hold on for now, as we're seeing this battle still continue through the early part of the Nordschleife. Really fun section of corners, actually. It's a shame that this part is sort of a bit shorter before you get to the next straight up to the jump at Flugplatz. But these sequence of corners are certainly very fast indeed. So hopefully they can obviously get through there nicely. It's easy to crash on that part of the track, but you don't want to do anything too crazy because the wall's always so close.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hearing, by the way, that Benjamin Sanchez is also out of the race at the moment because, well, I was hearing that, but apparently he's still in the race. I can see him, even though somebody's saying in the chat that the car's blown up. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, ninth place battle still going on between Avinera and Cara as well, fighting over that place, and it doesn't seem that Cara's been able to make any move, even though these guys have been following each other for a fair amount of time now. They're not overtaking each other at this point, and just kind of staying where they are. I've just noticed that the thing on the left hand side isn't actually updated, is it? So Sanchez might well be out of the race, but we're not entirely sure just for the moment. But we're still watching this battle between these two and seeing who could come out on top. For the moment, it looks like Avinera is fairly comfortable in staying in front. That's a little bit wayward though, over the grass there, over the curbs, and he's going to have lost a fair amount of time in doing that.
I want to be hitting the curbs once again, but it's so easy when you're on the limit around this track. You can actually see that it's quite sort of thin compared to sort of your standard GP track as well. So you really don't have much room side to side to use the car. You've really got to keep it right on the limit, right on the racing line, and that is probably one of the reasons why it is such a fun part of the world to come and do a race in, because you obviously want to make sure that you are doing your best to keep it within the limits and not crashing, because that is certainly what you don't want to do.
No, certainly not. But it's easier than keeping it on the road really here. So they got to watch out for it. We have got the thing updated on the left hand side now, which is a good thing, and it also shows that Mrozek is making a couple of inroads into Simoncic right at the front of the field there. It's got down to 3 seconds now from 4, which is where it was at the start of this lap. So maybe there's hope still for Mrozek for him to get on terms here, but maybe not. We'll wait and see if he can actually get near once again. But what is clear is that Pinto is not able to stick with Mrozek or Simoncic at this stage. The Burst Esport guys are gone, and now he's coming under pretty heavy fire from Risto Capit and Ibrahim Khan, who are not too far behind him either. So I have a feeling this is going to be an hour of Nuno Pinto getting overtaken unless he picks up the pace a little bit more.
Yeah, Mrozek, he is catching Simoncic as well, so there's some pace in the bag there, and there's still 37 and a bit minutes left in the race. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mrozek is actually able to catch Simoncic. We did mention in the pre-show though that you won't be making a pit stop because you'll be able to do the whole 60 minutes on a full tank of fuel, but the tyres is going to be the interesting point, because obviously the more you push now, the more wear that your tyres are going to have at the end of the race. And the tyres are very crucial around here because of all these corners you can see, especially through this part of the track. They're just all these medium, sort of higher speed corners, and you really need to make sure that you got the tyres to hold the speed through there, otherwise you're just going to be losing many seconds by the time you get already towards the end of the final stint on the tyres. So hopefully they can do that. But Mocek looking good at the moment.
He is indeed, and it continues to decrease the gap to below 3 seconds now. So maybe there is hope for the Polish driver just yet, but we'll see if he can continue to do that, or whether he's just taking a little bit too much out of his tyres at this point in the race to really sustain this throughout the race. We'll wait and see. But Rodder's right now just in front of Rodriguez. These two battling over 13th position and not too far behind them. Kambarker is a few seconds back. Ballet is just off in the distance there. So in this kind of midfield, we've got this kind of top 6, but by 8 seconds at the moment, kind of running away with the race. Then from 7th on down to about 15th, we've got a fairly close pack of cars going on there as well. So it's very, very difficult to know who's going to come out on top of those battles, of course. But it's also fairly close in these kind of groups. So there is still a lot of battling to be resolved as this race continues on. But we're on to the Dossinger again. It remains to be seen if Nuno Pinto can hold on to this place, or if he's going to get slipstreamed and overtaken down into the final few corners like he was last lap.
Yeah, he seemed to have been able to hold on for now, so that is a very good job for him. Has gone up to 35 minutes remaining in the race. But yeah, it seems that the gap is just sort of fluctuating a tiny bit. It did go up a little bit, but it's now just gone back down by a few tenths as well. So the pace is still very close between these drivers, and that is good to see. I mean, even down to Arisi in 6th place, they're only 8 and a bit seconds off the lead, which is quite remarkable considering they've obviously done a few laps now, and just how difficult this track can be. So good to see that they are continuing to keep on a close race. Then there's some closer battles a bit further down, so I think there's going to be battles up and down the field as we get towards the latter stages of this race. But yeah, I'd like to see what maybe Khan could do. Could he battle the top 4, or is he just going to be sitting there for the time being?
We'll wait and see. It seems that he's just taking a bit of a back seat at the moment. Excuse me. And watching on from behind the battle between Pinto and Capet. Capet wasn't able to make any moves on Nuno Pinto on that occasion, while the McLaren just seem a little bit slower than the Audi in a straight line. I don't think the Corvette is very much better. I don't think Capet's going to be able to use that to his advantage, really, in this race. Although I could be proved wrong, of course, and he may be able to make the move. But Pinto was able to hold on at the very least down into the Tiergarten that time. So he's done that at least. Let's see if he can hold on for a little bit longer. But Khan is certainly there, holding on from behind it, and might even have a go now. He got a good run out of that right-hander there, and is very, very close to Capet as they run up towards the fast left-right chicane. And it would be brave for him to go through there, and I don't think he's going to, just for the moment, because that chicane doesn't really lend itself to overtaking very much.
Yeah, it's such a fast-flowing section of the track. You've really got to be sort of alongside. You can't be diving it down into that final chicane of the GP loop. Unfortunately, we didn't see a crash there, but we now jump back to the battle between Khan and Capet. And it seems that they have started a little bit of their own battle now, actually. Khan's starting to get a bit closer, and I think this battling could mean that Capet isn't going to be able to quite keep with Pinto, but Khan is just sitting there nicely, and I think he's really ready to pounce.
Could well be. He could well be at this point. You've kind of got to be really with the situation the way it is, and how you can't really go down the inside at all times, really. You've got to kind of bide your time, just wait around, and then strike when the opportunity actually does come. But he's got to be ready for that opportunity. He can't go to sleep, as it were, on the job at the moment, and he's just got to stay attentive, wait for that moment, and then pounce as we go on board with Ibrahim Khan again up towards Adnan Forrest. No way of getting through here at the moment because he's not close enough for a start, but also you don't really want to be going side by side here through here anyway, although he is starting to make a move and get a little bit closer to the rear end of Risto Capit, who makes a bit of a mistake, has to go across the curb and the grass as well, so he loses a bit of time there, no doubt, and continues on. But those are the kind of mistakes that can creep in, especially with the pressure that Ibrahim Khan is starting to apply.
Yeah, it's so easy to dip a wheel on the grass. And we've seen this a couple of times already this race, in fact, with Bettini just in the corner that they're passing through, and then also Michihai as well. The reason why they both crashed was because they just dropped a wheel. Once you sort of lose the rear end or just get a wheel on the grass, it just spins you around, no coming back. No tarmac runoff, just straight grass, and then the Armco if you go off. But it was good to see that the drivers have been, despite it being more of a sprint race format, so it's not like even the 24-hour race here or 3-4 hour race either, where you're going to be sort of pushing but keeping it just within a limit. These guys, they've got no time to waste. They should be absolutely flat out, and it seems like they are doing pretty good to keep it all on the track. There hasn't been too big of an incident so far.
Now, that's very sideways from Risto Capit, but he holds on well, doesn't really use much of the curb on the outside line there, but didn't really need to, was too busy controlling the slide really, as they go slightly downhill, but mostly up the hill now towards the very, very fast left-hander at the end of this long straight set. Well, it's not straight, but it's flat out. And you can make moves here into the left-hander if you are very, very close, get a good run, good slipstream, and you can sweep your way around here. However, you do need, firstly, a bit of a pace advantage on this one. You do need a bit of a pace advantage over the guy you're racing, but also you do need some good straight line speed in your car. You need to be very, very close indeed to be able to make that work. Otherwise, you're just not going to be close enough up that section. So it really, when you get to this point here, you get to the carousel, you can make a move here as well, because if you jam your car down the inside, then your opponent is forced to go not where the banking is, and that will completely that's a great rear wing, that, isn't it? Taco time. But anyway, you can force your rival up onto the part where there's non-banking, and then you can pretty much get the position straight away. But once you get through that point, you get to Horak. This is the highest point on the circuit. You plunge downhill from here, and it is all twisty. It's all very, very fast indeed, and it's all not really good for overtaking.
But it is, in my opinion, one of the best sections of corners in the world. It's so fun to drive the car, especially on these GT3s where you're really on the limit. As I mentioned, it's really the fastest cars you're ever actually going to realistically race around here as well. So it's awesome opportunity to be able to drive these cars around this part of the track, all the way through the carousel, all the way up to the mini carousel. That whole section of track is really such a great part of the track. I really do enjoy it, and it's good to see. As we've seen that this battle for the lead is really starting to come down. Not only is Murchek closer, but Pinto and co are also closer to Simičić. So I wonder, maybe Simičić went out a little bit too early.
Or he made a mistake, because I think everybody's caught him at a fairly uniform rate at this point. So I'm not entirely sure. We didn't see what happened to Simičić there, if anything did indeed happen. But we may never find out. The two teammates, though, all close together now. Nearly saw Murchek off the road there, and he did lose a bit of time. 1.2 seconds is now the gap. I'm not entirely sure how far back he can pick up slipstream here, really, but he might be feeling something now, although he's still nowhere near close enough for making a move. Let's see what happened to Simičić. And this is Mike Cara we're getting a replay with. Too late to turn into the Flugplatz, and that's what happens. Rear end into the barriers first, and one of the prime examples of how things can go wrong around here.
Yeah, that is probably one of the harder parts of the track, actually. It's that Flugplatz corner. It's almost like it might be flat out, but it also might be a bit of a lift and all that, but you don't really know until you get there. And it depends exactly on your line, and there's a lot of factors. It's not just your standard corner where you go into it the same every single lap. So if you go into it just a little bit too fast, or you misjudge it, then yeah, unfortunately, yeah, you're going to be having a bit of an accident, and it's not going to be a small one either. That corner will, it will bite you, and it's one of the few places on the track actually where you can really have sort of a big accident, because of the way that's the only part of the track that really has sort of a bit of, or the only part of the Nordschleife that actually has a bit of the sort of the wide runoff as well. It's not like other parts of the track where you can always scoot across the Armco. Here, you're actually, you're just going to be flying into it backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a nice feeling. It looks like Mike Carr's got away with it though, doesn't it? I think this is the same. And it's pretty remarkable, really, to be able to get away with that. It's all the battle for 11th position, I believe, at the moment. Anyway, although there is an Audi in front, not entirely sure. Is that Michi Hoyer, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, doesn't seem to be involved in this battle. As a fantastic exit from Fabien Ballet down into the left-hander, although can't quite get through just for the moment. The Corvette stays in front, and the Audi's still behind. I'm pretty sure it's the same Mike Carr we were watching a few moments ago. If he has got out of the wall there and got away without damage, I'll be amazed.
Yeah, unless there was a bit of an issue with the naming of the crash. But yeah, that is there's Carr there. He's in that 11th place and holding on for now. So as you say, he's done a pretty good job considering having a bit of a crash, but he's now coming towards the end of the GP loop and trying and actually really get himself almost to the top 10, but he has got quite a big gap actually to Vac. As you say, the car ahead of him must be potentially Michi Hoyer, who seems to be back in the race a couple of laps down. So let's see if Ballet can complete this overtake sequence towards the end of the GP loop, and he has indeed. So that is a nice position there. So unfortunately, Cara there down to 12th place, and he needs to make sure that he can keep up with him. Otherwise, that Audi's going to go off into the distance, and it is Michi Hoyer in the picture. He is back in the race, a couple of laps down. So he probably, when he had his issue, probably sort of did a restart. He sort of disconnected and came back in. So he's still in the race, but he's not going to be getting any sort of major positions with the time left.
No, you wouldn't imagine so. Some of the gaps are starting to form now, really, especially the one from 6th to 7th, getting quite big now. It's unlikely that some of these guys are going to be getting up any more positions, although you could hope for a bit of a problem for somebody further down or further up the order. You could gain from that, but it doesn't really feel like you're making an overtake at all at that point when you do manage that. So it's a difficult situation for some of these guys to just keep their heads straight and make sure that they're not making any mistakes, because when you're not near anybody, you do sometimes tend to switch off, and that's the worst thing around here. You cannot switch off at any point. Because if you do, you are almost certainly doomed, and that has been the downfall of many people in the past, you can be sure, and it will be in the future. You just got to keep your head screwed on, really, and keep your head in the game, otherwise this circuit will catch you out.
Yes, certainly will. It will come back to bite you. Even just sequences of corners through, like Adenauer Force just there, it really wants you to go fast. Like the way that the corners are designed, and the way that is really sort of invites you to go fast into the corners is obviously really dangerous, because then it just pinches you on the exit, and you have to be really careful to not know that. But you only really understand that from experience, from driving the track multiple times and really getting to know it, because it's so long. You obviously don't do each corner that many times, really. So to learn the corners, you have to, loads and loads of laps, which is many hours of driving.
And also, it's one of the only circuits I've experienced anyway where you actually have to learn where it goes. Normally, when you're learning a new circuit, learning which corner comes next is fairly easy, really. It doesn't take too much brain power, but around here, it really does take a lot of brain power. It's like a rally stage every single time until you finally realise and finally get to know it. But it takes you a very, very long time even to figure out where's what, really. It's tricky in that aspect. But you're right what you say as well. It takes a very, very long time to master the circuit. even if you think about a normal circuit and how long it actually takes you to get things right around the normal one, how many hours that is, just multiply that by about 4 or 5 around here, and then you can get some way to understanding what these guys have to go through to be good around this kind of circuit as well. So yeah, it's a massive undertaking, and not many people would, well, I certainly wouldn't try and be a world beater around here, because it's so difficult to learn everything and learn where you need to be good in every way, in every corner. But you know, that's the kind of commitment you've got to take on if you want to win one of these races.
It's not, it's not a easy track to learn for that, and the only way that you would ever sort of recommend someone to learn this track really is just simply to do laps, especially if you want to go and drive it in real life on the tourist. Or is a risk up it? They had a spin. Couldn't quite see who that was. Didn't seem to be anyone of the top lot, at least. But I see that car has also had a DNF now, as this battle for third is really starting to heat up. But yeah, even if you want to go for the tourist part of the Nürburgring, you really need to do some laps on the sim first. Just get used to the track, just learn where the corners are. Though that is obviously easier said than done. But I think this battle for third could be swapped around, because Pinto's really starting to fall off the top two.
Really is at the moment. Yeah, it's the gap's starting to extend between them, and you can see Cappett's been at about this distance before. Maybe he's a little bit closer than he was before, but you know, he's been about this distance. Khan is now involved, though. That's the real kicking point, really, because Cappett's being slowed up at this point. Nuno Pinto is slowing down, and Ibrahim Khan is able to get on terms with these guys now, just about. So expect to see some moves going down into the final future games. I think the McLaren at the back is the fastest car in a straight line here out of these three, and the middle one is kind of second fastest, and the first one is first fastest, or slowest, should I say. So yeah, it's very difficult to. I think there's going to be possibly a free wide moment going on.
Yeah, this is going to be some nice slipstream action to the end of the race. 20 minutes just gone in the race as well, so 2/3 of this gone, just getting towards the final parts, and that's going to be about 3 laps left by the time we get to the start finish line as well. Simčić leading the way. He's got a little bit of a gap now to Mocek. Mocek lost some time at the end there, but is Risto Cappa going to be able to complete this overtake on Nuno Pinto? It looks like he's actually just sort of going to be lifting off, trying to keep it safe and overtake at a much better opportunity, because if you don't quite overtake by the Bilstein Bridge, then through the sort of kinks to finish the lap, it's really a risky overtake.
Yeah, it is indeed. I'm not entirely sure why he didn't go for it there. I certainly wouldn't have. If I was driving, I would have gone for it, because if you think about how long Khan spent behind Pinto here, he spent basically the entire race. So he's sticking behind him for the moment, but why would you do that? Because, you know, he had a great opportunity, in my opinion, there to get straight through, but apparently he didn't want to take it, and so he's going to have to stay behind him for another lap or so. Maybe he knows now that if he stays behind at this point until the very final lap, then he will be able to overtake Pinto on the final lap and take that third place away. But, you know, Rocek's only 2 seconds up the road. He could go and get Rocek maybe if he got through there, and over the last 3 laps he might be able to catch the Burst T-Sport driver in front of him. So I'm slightly puzzled as to why he didn't go for that there, but and I certainly would have, but no, he's decided to stick behind for now, and he's going to come under pressure from Ibrahim Khan as well because of it. Yeah, really, the pressure really starting to get to, or maybe not getting to him, but it's certainly building up, at least for this third place cap. It's getting so close indeed, and you're right, being behind on the final lap can actually be good, because it is such a long straight. It's almost 4 kilometers, that straight in total, all the way down to the Tiergarten. So if you can keep yourself in that position to be second, or second in the battle on the final lap, then you've got a really good chance of overtaking, because they can't really come back at you once you get past either. So it's certainly going to be a good fight by the time we get towards that part of the race, but we've still got a couple of laps to go, so they need to work out their positions and work out sort of where they're going to be as we get towards that final lap. there could be a little bit of playing around for second place in certain groups, for that exact reason, because it might be beneficial be second, but there's always a big risk with that. If you make a mistake on that final lap, you just put yourself out of reach for that guy in front, or the guy you're battling has a good lap, and you're not able to get through. I think it's a massive risk, really, going on to the final lap second, because any number of things that can go wrong. If you're in first in the group, I would say you're more in control of what happens there. You can basically dictate the pace around it. If you drive a bit slower, then there's not much everybody else can do to make you drive much faster. So, I reckon it's much better to be in control and be where Nuno Pinto is right now, and up in front. But Capet seems to be fairly safe and happy to sit right behind him for the moment, and not even attempt to make a move, which is once again, it is puzzling to me. But clearly he's willing to take that risk of being second for the moment, letting those variables kind of come into play rather than controlling it himself. But maybe he prefers to play it that way.
And there was definitely a rear wing on the exit of Schwedencross, so I wouldn't be surprised if when these leaders come up to some back markers, maybe there's going to be someone without a rear wing. I think there actually was just before Meskersfeld. Didn't quite see who it was, but there's certainly someone who had a bit of an accident there, coming towards that sequence of track. Very difficult, such a difficult place to be, really, when you're making a mistake there, because the Schwedencross corner is this really stupidly fast left-hander. It's almost flat out. You're really on the limit of the car, so if you lose it there, you're just gonna go off and have a big accident,
as you are at most of these corners, really. But yeah, you're right. It's not nice to be losing a rear wing anywhere around here, really. So try and avoid that. And anyone who does, really, in a 60-minute race like this, there's no chance to recover from things like that. You can't afford them. And even getting back to the pit lane, even in an endurance race where there's a lot of time remaining, there's still it almost ends your race, because if you have an accident at any point, really, it means that you do have to crawl back to the pit lane very slowly, and you do lose an awful lot of time. But we do see those kind of accidents happen quite a lot. The one you just saw on replay there, Arenberger's very difficult corner indeed. The undulations, the turning while braking, just finishing the left-hander before you have to dive on the brakes to get in for the right-hander. It does make things very difficult, but it's very easy to do what we just saw there, really, and lose your rear wing in that way by spinning off into the wall. It's very easy to do, but it's just about, you've just got to set your brakes up right, haven't you? You just got to put them forwards enough. If it's too rearward, then you're going to have things like that happen.
Yeah, you're certainly indeed. And I've just seen Mitch Hoyer did DNF. We saw that he sort of had an accident earlier, came back, but he's DNF'd again, and had just an unfortunate incident coming towards the latter part of the lap, sort of through the Stefan Beloff S sequence, and had another accident there. So unfortunately, he has joined the list of the other five DNFs, so 6 in total so far, which isn't too bad, as Thomas Vac there getting his way up into the top 8 with a nice slipstreaming move. And that is a really good part of the track to do that, actually, because your teammate, your opponent, can't really come back at you after that, because once you get through that the mid curver, then you just can't really do too much. As you come towards the carousel, gets a bit too fiddly, so good job from him, although he has got quite a big gap now to get up to Jacobs, well over 10 seconds.
Very brave to make a move through there, though. It's very narrow and very high speed as well, so not an orthodox place you'd really see someone making a move, but there you go. Thomas Vac went for it, and it did pay off in the end, but it can just as easily go wrong, really. So maybe early on you might advise against it, but now we're getting down towards the end of the race, I guess, last quarter of the race, I suppose, and you might want to start trying to make those kinds of moves at the least. But it seems that we've not seen it used as much as I thought we would, because I don't know why, but we just haven't, and good to see it finally being used at some point, but still a little bit underused compared to what I was expecting. It still seems that Mr. Capit is content to sit behind. We'll see what happens as he goes down to the final chicanes this time, really, because last time it looked like he wanted to sit behind until the very final lap. We'll see if that still rings true at the end of this one.
Yeah, I don't know if he sort of wanted to sit behind, because that is a bit of a weird one, because it certainly looks like he's faster with the way he's able just to sit exactly behind. So let's see if he can complete it on this run down the Dussinger Höhe. But yeah, he certainly is to be I don't know if he's sort of looking to be in that position, or if it's just the way that it is going. The McLarens are often very decent in a straight line as well, so I just wonder if he's just not able to really quite get close enough, because that is always a bit of a tricky situation as well. So I just wonder if he's not, rather than him not trying, if it's not him able to do so, because running some higher wings around here will gain you a lot through the sector 2 part of this track, but then obviously you just lose a lot of time down the back straight. As we're coming across the line with the leaders, we're going to have a couple of laps to go, because we will be at about just over 8 minutes a lap. We will have a few minutes left on the clock, and then we will go on to another lap where the drivers will be trying to not run out of fuel or do anything crazy, and try and get to the end. But it certainly looks like Capit is getting closer, but Pinto is holding on very well.
He is indeed soaking up the pressure at the moment, and not letting Capit go through under any circumstances, really. So the battle continues on. It stays the same for now. It should be 8 laps, or at least I thought it was going to be at the start of this race. It should be 8 laps this race, but there is no but, really. You do kind of know, because there's still a couple of minutes to go when they cross the line. Oh, there will be a couple of minutes to go when they cross the line the next time, so it is going to be 8 laps long, and that means that these guys are going to have pretty much filled their tanks full of fuel at this stage, and that means I doubt anybody's under fueled the car, but it's going to mean these cars were very heavy at the start of this one, and we'll be getting quite nice in terms of the weight now, but the tyres will certainly start to take their toll, and that will make things difficult for these guys, especially around here. But it doesn't seem that Capit wants to make a move once again. Just for the moment, the fast left-right chicane we've just gone through there doesn't really aid overtaking in any way. We've seen a few moves through there in the not too recent past. Earlier on in this race, we did see a lot of battling going through there, but it's not quite the same as having that big braking zone that we would for the slower chicane. It does break up the rhythm completely, that slower chicane. It's pretty awful to drive, but it's a lot easier to overtake on it.
Yeah, fortunately this track's plenty long enough to have other opportunities. The fast chicane is so much nicer to drive, and it's really a cool sequence of corners, that because you come for it so quickly, it is then actually quite a short distance then before the corner onto the Nordschleife, so you effectively turn it into almost like a long triple chicane. It's quite a cool sort of way that you do those corners. It is good, but as you say, it's a bit harder than the Grand Prix track that has the tighter chicane. That's all well and good there though, because you can still overtake. It's just a little bit difficult. And Pinto is going to be really struggling here as we get towards this part of the track. Capit getting through, and Pinto is going to need to try and come back at this and not lose another position to Ibrahim Khan, because that is certainly what you can do. And that just shows you how one little mistake onto the grass, and all of a sudden you're going to have a couple of drivers coming up behind you as well, as Khan is looking very racy.
Oh, he was indeed. Going down in towards Arenberg. That just shows you, and to be fair, Nuno Pinto got away with that, because we've seen some very, very big accidents come through there in the past, and it can get quite nasty quite quickly for you. But there you are. Capit is finally through, even though he was sticking behind. It seems that he was sticking behind or unable to get through. He's certainly able to get through now, and wasn't taking no for an answer. Didn't need a second invitation to go through, and so he is now. But Pinto kind of got away with that. Going off the circuit at the fastest part of the track is not often advised. Oh dear. Capit, while getting through straight away, has just had a huge, humongous accident, and goodness me, that is a real shame to see. You can tell that he was used to following another car, following the leader almost through here, and that's what happens when you get out in front. All of a sudden you're travelling at a different speed to what you were before. You've not got a braking reference point anymore from the car in front, and that kind of thing can happen.
And that was a big hit as well, went way up into the air, and that is the prime example of you just go a tiny bit too fast into one of these corners, and instead of going onto nice bit of tarmac as you do on these sort of more modern tracks, you just get your rear wheel onto that grass and you're just going around, which is the fun challenge, or some would say frustrating challenge, of this track. And yeah, Cap is going to be probably a little bit disappointed there to be DNFing from the race, because he was doing a good one. But that has meant this is now just a two-way battle for the third place. As you see on the replay, it's going to be an absolutely huge hit, and just losing the rear. Actually lost the rear a bit early, got onto the grass, tried to get back on, but he just didn't slow down enough. And yeah, absolutely massive accident, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to DNF from that one, because he lost his rear wing, and that would be a very, very long one indeed. So yeah, DNFing down already to 13th place, and yeah, a bit disappointing for him. But Khan now has the opportunity to get on the podium as we're coming up to start still sort of 1.5 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time to do this. So Khan could be sitting in a great position.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, just from the time that we spent on board with Ibrahim Khan and watching him, that McLaren, the newer version of the McLaren versus the older one, as you can see with these two cars right now, the new one's much faster in a straight line. It's much sleeker, slipperier in a straight line. And I reckon it's going to be Khan is going to be able to make the move on Pinto down into the Tiergarten for the penultimate time, if indeed he keeps this margin where it is right now. You can also see that the gap is extending to those leaders. Simonjic is continuing to extend his margin, as Khan just had a kiss on the wall a few moments ago there. But yeah, he's pushing hard certainly, and Pinto is losing time. You can also see Lorenzo Arisi is catching on from behind as well. The gap's 2 seconds between these guys and Arisi, so we may well restore a 3-car battle for third place in a minute.
Oh yeah, this is going to be good. Arisi, we've spoken about him, but we actually haven't really seen him at all during the race. He's just sat there behind these guys, just pulled away from Jacobs in that what is now 6th position, but he is starting to close up. You are right, and because of all this battling and everything, the two burst esport cars at the front of Simonjic and Motrek, they have absolutely romped off into the distance, just showing how sort of comfortable they are around this track, whereas some others maybe not quite so much. And Pinto, dropping back and into the clutches of Khan. So let's see, can Clutch get that? Can Khan get that slipstream down the Dottinger Her? As just saw the little bit of a rub. So Khan is certainly pushing. Let's see what he can do down this back straight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very, very. Well, I don't think it's going to be very tricky for him, but I think it's going to be tricky for Pinto to defend at this point. We'll wait and see. But no, that McLaren just definitely seemed better in a straight line, and that would made it very, very much easier, didn't it? Nuno Pinto going off the road, and Ibrahim Khan is going to be straight through. We're never going to find out if the new McLaren was better than the old one in a straight line, really. But to Ibrahim Khan, it doesn't really matter anymore, because Pinto just made that mistake at the Galbenkopf corner. Although the older McLaren is coming back at him towards the end of the straight.
Yeah, Khan is going to have to defend, and going side by side through the sequence of corners is not going to be the nicest thing in the world. And we're coming on to start the final laps. This is actually quite important, as you mentioned previous. Who is going to start the final lap in the lead? And it is going to be Khan, as there's just a couple of minutes to go. Yannis Simchic's best time of a 5.8, which is a very quick time indeed. He's certainly pushing the way at the front, keeping up the pace and doing some really nice laps as we're through that middle part of the stint. So let's see a replay. Pinto is going to be going a bit wide, and this was all it was. Tiny little mistake, managed to save it. Actually did hit the wall, but exactly like he did at Flugplatz with Capit. Little mistake, and your rival is getting past, and it's just those tiny mistakes around here that really add up.
Yeah, I think that Pinto's tyres are really starting to give up now, and he's not really able to do much with them at this point, and he really is starting to struggle, and you can't blame him really too much at this point, because he's been pushing hard for nearly an hour on them now, and that's what we come to expect. But he's certainly not letting go of Khan just for the moment. Actually got into the back of him at the hairpin there. But he's applying the pressure. I doubt he's going to be able to do much, because those mistakes are creeping in. We've seen in the last couple of laps, that those mistakes have crept in to his driving. Whether that's a concentration thing, I doubt it, because he's a very good driver indeed. I reckon it's more to do with the tyres. Maybe the car chewing through its tyres a little bit more. Maybe he's chewed through his tyres. But certainly those mistakes are creeping in now.
And let's see who is going to be leading the way onto the Nordschleife. Pinto is trying, but it's such a difficult part of this track to really get side by side. But Pinto actually is going to be getting back past there, so Khan is going to have to do that work all over again. You wouldn't assume that Pinto is going to be making that mistake again, but no, he's actually going to be going a bit wide, and these two are going to be side by side once again coming into the Nordschleife. A bit of contact and really trying to see who is going to lead the way, because they know after this point there isn't really going to be many places and opportunities to overtake. Khan's really trying to give him a good battle here, but now Arisi is trying to get involved, and he could potentially get a podium here if these two ahead start having issues.
Yeah, absolutely. He could definitely buy into this. And that's what he'll be hoping for, certainly. But it's certainly good to see that this battle is continuing on. Pinto not giving up without a fight, certainly. Maybe Khan is going to get jumped a little bit by Arisi, who's got through now on Khan, and there was contact there, definitely for sure. So we'll try and can't actually DNF from the race. Not entirely sure how that's going about, or whether that was Arisi's fault completely or not. But it's a bit of a mystery to me, certainly, as to how Khan got off the road. But we'll wait and see what happened there. Hopefully we'll get a replay. But Arisi's made a right charge in the last few moments. He was in 6th place towards the start of this one. Then a couple of guys have fallen by the wayside in front of him, and now he's knocking on the door of a podium.
Yeah, Khan would be a bit disappointed with that one, as we've already hit 0 time remaining. So this is the final lap of the race. But yeah, Khan almost had a podium, and now he's going to be DNFing from the race. So that's just how racing can go. Capit as well, in that same position, just got onto the podium, then had a DNF. So let's see what Arisi's going to do now. Is he going to be able to catch up Pinto? As you say, Pinto's sort of struggling a bit as we've come onto this final lap of the race, and he needs to try and hold on. He's made a couple of mistakes that have let up this podium battle, but this time he's got a tiny bit of a gap, and we need to see if Arisi can get him.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems that Arisi is closing a little bit, and we'll take another look at the replay here, Cam, as to what happened with Khan.
Yeah, let's see what Khan is going to do. I wonder if it was maybe sort of connection. Well, because I didn't quite see like a huge accident, but it's obviously something enough that he was going to come out of the race. And yeah, it looked like, yeah, maybe he just had some sort of, I don't know, personal issue, just had to stop racing. That was a bit weird, just sort of pulled over, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything too crazy there, so yeah, so not too sure. I couldn't hear the sound, but just saw the chat. Maybe some people are suggesting either he had no fuel or his engine blew. Couldn't quite see his downshifts or anything, but that is certainly a possibility, but a bit weird to do that, because it normally should be fine for 8 laps here, and you shouldn't really be blowing your engine when these cars can do 24-hour races.
Yeah, and you shouldn't also be running out of fuel, really, given that you know how long the race is going to be. I know at a normal circuit you might not quite be able to figure out how many laps the race is actually going to be in here, but with the Nordschleife you kind of do know, because the lap's so long that there's only a limited amount of laps that it can be, really, because you just can't fit many in. So 8 laps, it was always going to be obvious, and if he was out of fuel, then I think that is a pretty big mistake on his part. But I find that hard to believe, really, that he would have run out of fuel or blown the engine or anything like that. We'll probably find out afterward, but yeah, it just seems little bit strange to me. It is a shame though, because Khan was applying the pressure to Pinto and could well have had a podium in this race, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anymore. Well, it's not going to happen anymore. Pinto might well get his podium though, because he's just dropped the Risi just a little bit over the last few moments. The gap's just over a second right now, so I don't think Risi quite has enough to take this podium at the moment, although he's going to give it his best shot through this final few corners.
Yeah, it's the hard part of the track to overtake on, but it's the part of the track where you can really get close through those final corners. And Khan in the stream chat saying, no fuel, which is quite interesting to run out only about 3 minutes or 2 minutes into the final lap as well. So he was quite a lot short of the fuel needed, which is a bit of a weird one. But he said that he was just next for on pushing all of the time, so that's fair enough. But getting towards the end of the race is the important part if you want to be finishing in those top positions. As we're seeing now, Rodders trying to stay in that 8th position there, with Vinoa trying to get a little bit closer to him. But this battle for 3rd and 4th, Risi is getting very close. He might just be close enough to get a good run with the slipstream. And that's going to be the all-important part as well, because we know that 720S is pretty good in a straight line.
Yeah, it is. It's not bad. I mean, none of these cars are bad when they've got a slipstream, because this straight is so long and the slipstream effect is so massive that you can make any car look like a rocket ship in a straight line with a bit of a slipstream. So, we'll wait and see if there's going to be a move for the podium, but it is going to go right down to the wire, because Risi has closed on Pinto coming through these final few corners, and now onto the straight again they're going to go. So we'll see if Risi is able to make that move, as Simitic coming through the Tiergarten for the final time as well.
Yeah, so will be Simitic who finishes off the rFactor 2 Summer Showdown with a victory. Yunus Ravio winning in the stock cars, winning in the Indy cars, but Yene Simitic on his favourite track in his favourite car will be taking the victory. So really good job from him and his teammate David Mocek. They've just pulled away from the rest of the field. In fact, Mocek's dropped off a little bit, but he will be getting that 2nd place, which is great. But who will be getting the 3rd place? That is what we really are still left to find out as Risi, but now he's just going to be a bit too far away, isn't he? So Nuno Pinto will be getting on the podium like he did in the stock cars, and that is not too bad of a sort of a season, let's call it, for him. So Risi as well getting that 4th place with that final race of the Summer Showdown. That top 4 really pulling away with P5. Quite a few seconds back, 35 seconds back from them. So really starting to pull away there. I'm not sure if the race was any longer, they would actually be getting way off into the distance. But we've got Nick Jacobs and Tomasz Wach as well having good performances, good results. And then we will get through to some the other guys, but they are obviously quite a way down. The Nordschleife really opening up the gaps, Ewan.
Yeah, big gaps to those behind, and that's what we expect around here. Really, it's such a difficult circuit. So many places where you can make a difference, where that means things like this tend to happen. As Jacobs comes over the line for a 5th place, which is very, very respectable for him. I mean, some of these guys further back would not have dreamed of these positions really, but because of the issues for some guys in front, they've been able to get some very, very high placings indeed, and that's what it's all about at the Nordschleife. Getting to the end of the race is half the challenge, and if you're able to do that, then you're probably going to half your grid position by the race results. So, that's what most of these guys have done, including the likes of Tomasz Wach and Ahmed Abdallah as well, as Rodders, Avignoa, Rodriguez, Kambarker, Renan, all these guys who've made it to the end of the race and probably improved their positions quite massively compared to where they started, given the chaos around them. You only have to look at that DNF list to kind of take into account what chaos some parts of this race has been.
Yeah, it's certainly a difficult track, but it's always fun when you come back to it, because it's not the it's not supposed to be easy, if that makes sense. It's obviously supposed to be a bit harder, and that is why it's always the fun challenge to come and see what you can do around here. And these GT3 cars certainly giving a very good balance with their speed. Sometimes you drive a car on a certain track and you feel, this is a bit too fast or it's a bit too slow and it's a bit out of balance, but this car is perfectly suited for the Nordschleife, and it's certainly a very fun car to come around as we're getting through to the final couple of cars. We've got Simon Renard coming round to cross the start-finish line in that 11th place, and we've got Simon in 13th place as well, before quite way back to Fabian Baller, who had a penalty in that 14th place. So it's certainly been a bit of an attritional race with all those DNFs behind him. Bettini 1 lap down, he was having some issues as well. So it's certainly not the easiest track in the world, but that is why we love coming back here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a challenge for all of these guys, and that's the attraction of it, really. The challenge that you have around here makes it's so special, and so that's going to make Simicic's achievement even more impressive throughout this one. He's won the race by a good few seconds in the end, we didn't expect anything less from him, really, because he's such a strong driver. Mrozek came in second, Pinto holding on for a podium, and that's a couple of podiums now for him in the summer. Showdown, Arisi and Jacobs rounding out the top 5, and lots of different cars involved as well. Audi, McLaren, Bentley, Ferrari, Corvette, Porsche, BMW, all represented inside of the top 10, and we had a Bentley out there as well a little bit earlier on, and we had loads of different manufacturers of cars out there as well, which is one of the attractions of GT racing as well, the variety that we had.
Yeah, certainly good to see when you get all these different cars around, but that is sort of going to round up the summer showdown for rFactor 2. Hopefully there's going to be a few more events over the course of the next few months. Let's see what is planned and what is going to happen. But also in terms of GT3 racing, that is not it for the near future. On the 21st, in a sort of a week and a bit, on Monday week, the 21st of June, there'll be the relegation. See who is going to get into GT Pro and who is going to have to do GT Challenge once again for that season, which will be starting in a couple of months' time as well. So it's certainly been a fun series of events here for the rFactor 2 Summer Showdown. And until those next few races across the summer, we wish you a very warm goodbye.